Good night, everyone. It's your sugar here, and thank you for coming to tonight's episode of Styles Make Fights. And I want to open up this one with a bit of a soapbox moment for myself because I've been going through the concepts of boxing and female boxing in my previous um, shows and sessions because as you guys grow with me, I want you to get the information. So when Sugar really start dishing it out and really start, coming with the flavor and really saying some things that, maybe a lot of people may think is shade or whatever it is, you understand where Sugar's coming from and you have the education to know what what makes sense and what don't make sense. Hey, somebody's tuning in already. Does anyone think the WBC Bridgerweight division is going anywhere in boxing? Yes or no? Well, baby love, I don't know if that has anything to do with styles of fights, but this Bridgerweight division, I'm not sure what the details of that is and what that has to do, how that would affect female boxing or women's boxing. But I would say this: let's get some opposition. Let's get some strong opposition in each weight class first before we start bridging weights and jumping all over the place, which is what they're doing in women's boxing right now. And we're going to go through that in the session tonight, discussing, styles and fight styles and fights and the contenders and who's who. Okay, so I'm just gonna get into it, but thank you, Adair Pennant, for chiming in. Thank you for coming in tonight. Mwah, you get some sugar. Okay, all right. So, uh, you came back again. The Bridgerweight division is a bad idea for boxing and should be abolished. Also canceled, waste of time. You know what, baby love? You know what? You might have a supporter in Sugar too, because until you tell me what the details of this Bridgerweight division is, I don't know. I I don't know if I have an opinion on it just yet. So if you want to put that in, I'll chat with you, but I'm going to move on with the show. Okay? Okay. Now, um, just starting off by saying boxing is an art of self expression. Okay? Boxing is not anger, boxing is not about destruction or anything, it's actually art. Okay? And each person, I mean, the technique's the same, all the punches are the same, everyone will throw a jab. It's between heavyweight and cruiserweight. All right, baby. So in women's boxing, which is what Sugar talks about on this show mainly, ain't no heavyweight or cruiserweight women right now. But in boxing as a whole, I don't think there should be bridger weight. The cruiserweight division was supposed to be that bridger weight division between light heavyweight and heavyweight, where if you didn't have the faculties and the size to become a heavyweight, you could always be a cruiserweight. But the cruiserweight is a zombie weight class, right? No one really gets excited about that. Evander Holyfield was a cruiserweight that had to step up, and he was such a badass, he became a heavyweight champion. All right, moving on. So, um, going back to boxing being an art, self expression. All right. And it takes a special eye to see the divine gifts that each individual possesses, especially in boxing. Okay. So when you walk, everyone has the gift too. Trust me. Like everyone is born with a talent to kick ass, they just have to find it. Okay. So that eye now is what you would generally trust in your coach or the person who is developing you as a fighter. Them to see that eye and them to see what your strong points are in developing as a fighter and what you need to work on. Okay. Like I said, everyone throws a jab, a cross, a hook, uppercuts. Everyone does that. But it's the style that makes the problem. And in boxing, what we want to do is be the biggest problem, the problem that nobody can solve. Okay. Fantasy matchup. Ann Wolf versus Lucia Riker. Who wins Women's Legends Boxing? Well, you know what? We're going to revisit that question, baby love. And Dare, thank you for chiming in tonight. I love it. Because it's two different styles. Okay. Ann Wolf, one style, versus Lucia Riker, another style, and we're going to figure out what style is what, and let the crowd, let the onlookers chime in and see who they think would be proposed the biggest problem and would win that matchup. Okay, so a fight is a physical debate, right? When we get to the ring, there's no back and forth. We ain't chatting no more. We ain't talking. We ain't hurting no feelings. What we doing is we putting the hurt in, okay? And the technique and the way and the strategy of putting that hurt in is what makes the fight interesting, okay? You may like somebody personally, but when they get in the ring, do you like their style? Do you like the way they convey the message of I'm the baddest mofo in this squared circle? So we're gonna revisit the four main styles in boxing, okay? And then there are derivatives from these styles and hybrids, but these are the four main styles. We're gonna start off with the boxer. Okay. And my lovely assistant is going to put up an image of a boxer in female boxing right now that is known. Okay. So what we're looking at is we're looking at Katie Taylor. Okay. Katie Taylor is a boxer. She's a current boxer. Okay, and she's the champion. That's why she gets the spotlight, because Sugar ain't gonna give nobody no shine unless they earned it. And Katie, you earned it. Okay, so the the function or the prototype of a boxer is a fighter or a boxer that they're very formal. They use all the formalities of technique, movement, and rules of generalship. And let's break down what generalship is, okay? Skipped a step, but we're going to go back to it. Generalship is what makes the fight. Generalship is how a person, an individual, a fighter, operates and executes in the boxing ring. Okay, so how they execute, how they convey their message using their movements, their striking, their punching, and all of that to convince and convey the crowd and the judges that they're the baddie. They're the baddest mofo. They are winning. Okay, now going back to now describing a boxer. Okay, boxer is very formal. Boxer comes in behind a straight guard. The guard is up and straight. Okay, so their offense is normally formal, meaning they do straight, clean punches, as you can see in this picture here with Katie Taylor. And I think I know the last name of this fighter, Leonardo. She was a pretty tough cookie. and she got in there. I think Leonardo is out of Greece, but she stepped up to Katie, and Katie boxed her as Katie normally does all of her opponents. So the offense is normally straight strikes, okay, crosses, jabs, long punches that maintain distance, uppercuts, but the uppercuts are normally to the upper body, right? There, a boxer will stay, will not dig in too much. They like to keep clean and keep the distance. Also, their defense is clean. So their defense is normally behind this strict guard. Okay. Um, they'll use slips and movements, and they're just very clean. You'll never see a boxer grab or hold or get entangled with another fighter. That's just not their style. Okay. Um, their positioning is normally they have a lead. Either they would be an orthodox boxer, meaning that their left is the lead and their left jab is the lead punch, or they would be a southpaw, meaning their right side is in the lead and their right hand is the lead jab. Okay. And so everyone kind of knows in boxing lore or in boxing that the southpaws are the trickier ones, right? Because it's basically like fighting your reflection, right? You're you're punching and you're looking for punch shots coming from the same side as your own lead, from an orthodox, and vice versa, as a southpaw. Okay. So going into how this generalship of a boxer goes, the distance is the key for this type of fighter. Okay, distance. They this type of uh, this boxer or fighter, uh, they exhibit their generalship through creating distance. You will always find them fighting their opposition in what we call deep water, right? Deep water meaning they're at a person who is in deep water is on the very outside of a long shot, a long strike. Okay, they're not coming in. You are on the outside, and you're trying to get close to your opponent if you're in deep water. And then if you are a person or a boxer keeping a person out in deep water, you're keeping them at the very end of your shots, of your long shots, straight shots. Okay. Um, in order to deal with a boxer and defeat a boxer, possibly, the opposition will have to break or break down the boxer's generalship by disrupting their organized and formal disposition, meaning that you have to make them drop their hands. You have to break up. You have to break up that formality and make them come out of their make them come out of that distance that they've created. Step past the end of that punch to where now you're much closer to them. You will have to, like I said, have them drop their guard, have them step out of place, meaning that now make them sacrifice or take away their lead, because they'll have to, most of the time a boxer boxes based off of what their lead is. Okay. And that stance. Okay. Now, question for those out there, and before I move along, um tell me how what are the skills that you would see or you could see that would provide that problem, that would make the boxer drop their hands, that would make them give up that distance that they've created. Um, what are the skills that pay the bills? What would break someone like Katie Taylor down? A lot of fighters have exposed that. Delphine Pursoon is the most notable one. And I would love for you guys to watch that fight because there are a lot of tidbits. And if a fighter out here, if a new fighter, if a contender's out here really studying, if they see or saw that fight with Katie Taylor versus Delphine Pursoon, the answers are already there. All you would need to do is divide your plan and your strategy now to when you have that opportunity, step to Katie and break that formality of her boxer style down. My lovely assistant, is there another image that we have for a boxer style? If we do have it, put it up. There she goes, Michaela Meyer. Now, Michaela gets some shine too, okay? Because though Michaela waits for her opponents, or she only fights people who ain't so sharp, or she ain't gonna fight a live one. She is a good boxer, and that's what she does. Michaela Meyer is a tall, rangy fighter with long arms. So her style in generalship is fighting fighters and keeping them in deep water and using now the leverage from the distance that she creates to really hurt her opponents. So this picture here is Michaela Meyer versus Erica Farias, which is another great contender in boxing. And I'll let you guys figure out what kind of contender, what style Farias has. But she's actually a good one. She was a good contender. Michaela beat her, but I think Michaela caught her when she was cold. Remember, those matchmakers and promoters, they're doing their diligence in making sure that these ladies aren't tested like they should be. And yes, I said it. We want Michaela tested. Okay. Now, we're going to go now into the banger style. So my lovely assistant, please put up the banger. Okay. So the banger style here, we see Christy Martin. And Christy Martin gets the spotlight because she's a legendary banger. She's the one who brought the spotlight to women's boxing because women were always boxing. Okay? We was always in there. We were always kicking up dust and being the badasses, the naughty women that we have been in history. But Christy Martin, as you can see in this picture, she wasn't afraid to bleed and throw blows in front of everybody. And Don King gave her the platform to do it. So let's walk through and let's describe, or let me describe the banger to you. Okay, so the banger uses all formalities actually in boxing. They use the formalities of technique. They use the formalities of movement and rules and generalship, just like a boxer. But the difference is a banger, instead of utilizing deep waters or distance, okay, they use the most formal approach to inside fighting. Okay, Adair, your back and offense southpaw can be very dangerous. An offensive southpaw can be dangerous. Like I said, those southpaws are tricky. Okay, southpaw is a whole mind thing in itself, right? They think with the opposite side of their brain, so they think with the They're they're righty. So they think with the left side of their brain, and Orthodox thinks with the right side of their brain, if you didn't know that. And the side of the brain that you think with determines a lot of things, and with regards to the individual and their perspective and how they figure things out. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's psychological. That's why I don't underestimate fighters, right? Because we visit a lot of those things, and we have to figure out and solve all of those problems. Okay, now let's get back to this banger. Okay, so they're using the most formal approach to inside fighting. Okay, so they're coming in onto your personal space. All right, they're not giving you no room. Okay, so they normally use, because striking, jab, cross, those are long strikes. Bangers use hook shots. Okay, so they're using hooks and uppercuts. Can you imagine, Adrian Panett, can you imagine if Muhammad Ali was a southpaw boxer? Could you imagine if Muhammad Ali was a woman? We talk about female boxing, we talk about women's boxing. I'm waiting for that great. I'm waiting for a great like Muhammad Ali. His daughter came into the game, but she wasn't great. She was good, but she wasn't great. Okay. Waiting for a versatile uh, big woman, because remember Ali was a heavyweight. I want a big girl to come up and move like a middleweight, because that's what made Ali so phenomenal. He was a heavyweight man that moved like a middleweight, like Sugar Ray Robinson. And he threw his punches in combinations and bunches, just like Ray Robinson. I want to see that. We had the heavyweight Christina Hammer, very robotic, very technical. She is a boxer to the most formal degree, and she got taken down by Clarissa Shields, who we will is later on in the session, and we study what kind of fighter she is. There will be a woman great boxers. Absolutely, there will be a woman great. That's what we're all working for. And that's what we've all come together in our own styles to add to that great. Because she will take a little bit from all of us, to represent us as a great. And there's several greats. There will be several greats. And I enjoy and I'm excited and I look forward to seeing them come. Okay, so back to this banger. Okay. And thank you, Adair, for adding that point. Um, they're clean. All right, so a banger is clean. You see Christy Martin here with the blood draining from her nose or whatever, and you know what? Some fighters don't get started until they taste a little blood. I guess that was her. Okay, but she is noted for being a great banger. Okay, um, using hooked strikes, so cross it, hooks, uppercuts, hooks to the body mostly, right? Because bangers like to dig in. They've come in past your uh, range, right? The range is from your shoulder to the tip of your knuckles. That's what a fighter's range is, punching range is, right? So a banger comes in into the range closer past the end of the punch, so they can deliver their punches, and they are standing there to do that. Okay. Their defense is also clean. A banger has a great solid guard. They close up, they're catching shots, they're solid, right? Because they're right up on you. Okay. Um, their guard is normally, for the most part, impermeable. Yeah, they're tight with that shit. Okay. Um, and what they do is, they're coming in with that tight guard, and it's like a shell, and they're breaking the opposition down. They're taking real estate. We call it ring real estate away from the opposition. They're not giving you any space to move. They're not giving you any space to maneuver or do anything. They want you to stand there and bang with them. Go blow for blow, blow for blow. Okay? And they'll bang you out if you let them. All right. They close the distance, and just like a boxer, the distance is also the key for a banger to exhibit their generalship. Okay, you will always find them cutting the ring off and taking away the real estate from their opposition in order to close space, not create distance like the boxer, but close in on space in order to execute those short punches, those hooks, those uppercuts, those devastating barrages of combinations, standing there in that one place. Okay, so we're going to go into the keys now. In order to deal with or defeat a banger, the opposition must create distance. Okay? Keys to create the distance. I'll give you some nuggets. Okay? The fighter will need to create distance in timing and physical distance. And there are skills now that create these things, these opportunities to defeat such an opponent as a banger. Okay, so if you know boxing and if you've watched boxing out here, my lovely assistant, can you bring up the second banger? There she is. Chantel Cameron is a current banger, a up and coming banger. And she gets some spotlight right now because this girl, she's running through opposition. She is no joke. She is banging high end opposition out. Oh, okay. So we got Miss Scott coming in. Hey, Sugar, how did you handle a banger? All right. So I'll tell you how Sugar handled a banger. Okay. I want y'all to I would love for y'all to understand the type of fighter Sugar was. But how I handled a banger was I did create distance with my footwork. I've always divulged that I was a fighter with longer arms than what my height was in the ring. So I'm an average height woman, and my reach was for a very tall woman, a woman that would probably be around 5'10", 5'11". I got long arms. So I kept the bangers in deep water. I also jammed up their timing. I used feints. Okay, so I'm gonna give you all the answer. I used feints. I used my movement. I used feints and fakes. A feint is where you feint you feint a shot. You break the rhythm and you feint like you're gonna do throw a shot, but you don't. A fake is we're moving one way and I fake like I'm gonna move this way, but I move the opposite way. And so a banger now needs to get set in order to throw their shots because they want to bang you out. If you don't let a banger set, they can't bang you out. And so that's what Sugar did. But there's several ways to solve that problem, right? And Sugar solved it in many ways in her experiences. But since, I feel really generous tonight. So I'm going to give you guys that are tuning in, some of you that may be fighters, some of you may be coaches and trainers. I'm going to give you the answer or an answer to dealing with a banger. So what we have on the screen here is Chantel Cameron. She's a banger. Okay. She's very strong. She's a pit bull, like I've always called her. And you see, she's standing there. I'm not familiar with this fighter that she's banging out right now. But as you can clearly see, she's standing there. And as that fighter is throwing, she has her guard up tight and she's throwing from her guard, which she has gotten the better of that battle or that encounter. She's connected with the shot, and that fighter is getting banged. Okay, that brain is getting rocked. So moving on, just one last note with a banger. Like I said, a banger will always want to get set to make an exchange, to go back and forth. Okay, so that's why they always want to take the real estate of the ring, right? Because if you have the majority of the ring behind you or the majority of the space behind you, that person is not going to move. The person in front of the banger has no real place to go. So they have no choice but to stand and bang or stand and try to fight them off. And so let's go on to the next style. Lovely assistant, can you change my image? Fighter style. Okay. And who hey, we not doing that. You better be good to me. Yeah. So this is a fighter style, okay? And who you see here is Chevelle Hallback. Chevelle Hallback, she's an old school fighter. She is a toughie. She actually fought Lucia Riker, who's and Dare brought up earlier. And I think it was her fourth fight, and it was like Lucia's eighth fight or something. And we all know Lucia Riker was no damn joke. As a matter of fact, she fought a man when she was a kickboxer. She did kickboxing and boxing, and she fought a man in kickboxing, which I like to stay. I like for us women to stay in our lanes. Okay, you can't be. You could be a bad fighter. Okay, but we want to be the baddest woman, right? We don't want to fight no mans and try to be the baddest man. That's not for us, okay? Our lane is being bad women behaving badly, and that's where we should stay. So, going back to who you see here, the fighter here with the dreads and who's leaning in, and you see her. She's her hands are in an unorthodox position. I am not clear on who Chevelle is fighting in this picture, but we're going to focus on Chevelle. Okay, so a fighter now uses all informalities of technique and movement and rules in their generalship. Okay, a fighter is who you would meet up on in a bar or in a parking lot. Okay, they're not going to hold a guard up, right? You're not going to see them with this. You're going to see them with some crazy. You're going to see them coming with some unorthodox stuff, some stuff that you really can't. You probably never seen before. You can't count on because they've used their strength is the non-technical, unconventional approach to stand up hand-to-hand boxing combat. Okay, their offense is informal, so they may throw shots like you see here. We're not sure. You can't be sure what this shot is that Chevelle was throwing here. Was it an uppercut? Was it a low hook? Like, where was that coming from? Right. So you're standing in front of a fighter, and a fighter may throw not a straight shot, but a shot that comes from low to high, or comes from an unorthodox angle, that now it's not as clean. It's not as technical as the boxer, which makes it hard to uh, figure out how to solve the problem. Okay. Solving the problem with a boxer and a banger is straightforward because they're so clean. Now a fighter gets messy. Okay. Their defense is informal, right? So instead of using, their guard, in that conventional way, they're slapping, or they're doing all of these informal ways. They're shimming their shoulders, they're catching shots with their shoulders, they're doing things that you know they're they're using parries that aren't really clear where the parry is deflecting your shot to. And a parry, right, going back to boxing 101, a parry is when you actually kind of the shot is coming to you and you knock it away, you deflect it, right? A parry is to deflect a shot. Okay, so their defense is also kind of unclear, or not kind of, is unclear, because they fighting your ass, right? They're not boxing you. They're using, they throwing everything and the kitchen sink, and you got to look for everything in the kitchen sinks, because all of that shit will hurt you. Okay. They are mostly long distance fighters. They use distance, right? Because as the great James Brown said, I don't know, what did he say? I don't know boxing, but I know crazy. And they actually add that bit of crazy to the generalship, which makes it, and gives it a little spice in there. Their style is spicy. You will never find a fighter that fights like another fighter, because it's art now. That they're expressing themselves to the fullest when they're fighting. um my lovely assistant, please put up the other fighter's picture that we have, for example. There she is, Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields is a fighter. As you can see in this picture, look at where her hands are. Look at her body position, right? She's not straight up. Her hands are dropped low. Her head is off angle. She's not standing straight up and straightforward like Katie Taylor would, right? And she uses her rock back, and she uses those moves, and that kind of, oh, Adair, it's me and you tonight, baby. Adair Pennant, here you go again. They should make a women's Super Grand Prix Ultimate Tournament and make things easier for fighters. I don't know what you mean with that one. Super Grand Prix Ultimate. Listen, let's put it this way, baby. They should make the sanctioning bodies more strict about who these so-called champions get to defend their belts against, and who these so-called champions get to fight. Because what these women with these names are doing is, like I said, their matchmakers are using uh, their skills to find people for them to be bad against, to find them easy wins, to find body bags and tomato cans for them to look great against. And it doesn't look good for women's boxing, number one. And number two, we will never get a female great or a woman great from such bullshit in our industry, because in order for growth, each champion will have to extend herself, and these girls are not extending themselves. One true villain MS. You ask, is this live? That yes, this is live. What you think this is? You hear one-on-one live with Sugar, and you gonna be, if you come here every Wednesday at 7:30, we gonna be live all the time. All right. So I'll see you then, and thanks for chiming in. Miss Scott, you coming in. Which style is most effective? The style that's most effective is the style that exhibits the most skill. Because you can be a boxer, but each boxer or each fighter, each person that goes in the ring has a bag of tools. You'll hear you'll hear the phrase skills pay the bills. The skills are the tools, and you got to study, and you got to go in there, you got to box, and you got to spar, and you got to have different people, many different styles, and many different people in front of you in order to develop your tools, number one, and in order to add to that toolbox. The more tools you have, the more effective you are, the more dangerous you are. A chef, right? There's a chef and then there's a cook. A cook may have one knife. A chef has a suitcase of knives. Okay? So that's the comparison that I would give to you, Miss Scott. Talk and fight. All right, so we got questions coming in for Talk and Fight. Well, y'all got questions coming in on YouTube. And Baby Loves, guess what? I'm not on YouTube right now. I can't see your questions, but we won't work it out. I'm gonna come back and answer them. I promise. I promise. Okay. We're gonna get it together. Okay. And questions will get answered. But let's go back to this. Let's finish up with this fighter. Okay, this style. So the fighter is unconventional in their positioning and in everything, but the positioning, bring it back to that, their positioning is the key to their generalship. Their positioning, the way they stand, the way they operate. Tyrone Fleming, which style is most effective? Listen, we ain't going to ask the same questions over and over again, right? The style that's most effective is the style, right? Because there's a style, is a difference, okay? Styles make fights. You may have a fighter style, but if you have many tools, skills, tools in your toolbox as a fighter, then you will be effective. And that's what we're looking for in boxing. We're looking for the fighter that has the tools to solve the problem or the skills to solve the problem. The problem is the opponent or the opposition in front of them. If you are effective, then you will defeat your opposition. Same thing in life, right? Skills pay the bills inside and outside the ring. If you have skills, if you have speaking skills, if you have skills now to convey to the person in front of you that they should give you what you want, then you will win that battle, whether it be a job, whether it be some sugar, right? Whether it be money. You got to convey with your skills the person in front of you that you are going to get what you want. Now, as a fighter, okay, your position is the key to your generalship because a fighter will never have a conventional stance. They will always come from outside of the box. And because they always come from outside of the box, it makes them very hard to figure out, right? Fighters are very hard to figure out, and they play as they go, right? They'll find a solution as the fight progresses, right? They'll find a way as the fight's going. Nothing's laid out. right? So you gotta, if you're fighting a fighter, you have to be able to, you have to be versatile and flexible, and you have to be able to change as they change in fighting them, in order to deal with a fighter. The opposition must break down this fighter's generalship by closing the distance, right? If you give somebody space to be crazy, they finna be crazy, or they gonna be crazy. You can't give them too much room. You got to contain the crazy, right? So when you contain them and when you put them in little spaces, then they don't have much opportunity, much room to do anything besides work within that small space. And then you can see now what they're going to do. Miss Scott coming in, most fighters are bangers. Well, I like that observation, Miss Scott. Um, most, I would say the dominant style right now in women's boxing is the majority are bangers, right? Because everybody trying to prove they strong, right? They want to hit and get hit. And as I've said before, I gotta own it. We crazy. Women, female fighters, women boxers are crazy, right? we we uh we bang, we give and we take, right? It's just a part of us. We haven't evolved to that place. We're getting there with boxers out there. Eva Jones was a boxer, old school boxer, and now a new school boxer who's a champion. She was an old champion, new school champion, Katie Taylor. All Katie do is box, right? That's all she does is box. So, the styles are the banger style is dominant, but that boxer is coming in too, right? And that boxer solves the problem of the banger, because we haven't reached a female banger yet that can contain a top-notch boxer, and that's what I'm looking for out here. That's what I'm looking for out here in women's boxing. That's why I ain't too excited with each fighter that's coming out. I think last week, one of my lovely participants, one of my lovely viewers that showed up, mentioned a female's name that came on Talkin Fight, and I'm sorry to say, y'all going to see how Sugar really rolls. You don't get no shine from me unless you doing something. I'm not even going to speak your name, boo boo, because I know how hard it is out here. And just because your managers and just because your matchmakers found you 5 people to knock out, don't impress me. Because who? I still don't know who they are. I still don't know who you are, girl. So go and sit down somewhere. So Adrian, I'm sorry, Adair Pennant, here you go again. I love it. Do you use the Philly shell? Or the cross arm guard? Listen. Here you go with that extra credit. I like it. So we talking about Adair brought up the Philly shell. And the Philly shell is using your shoulder to roll and cross, right? So I don't know if y'all could see, but here, this guard here is used by many old school. This was an old school, and I think you should bring it back. This is a skill that should be brought back. Sugar has used that cross check, right? And the cross check is much like whoever been a badass kid at one time, and grandmammy or mom bopped them upside their head and they went like this. That's the cross check. Okay? So the cross check is actually stopping that fight from that shot from coming in, but also because you hear, right, you can deflect the shot from coming straight, the impact of the shot. Okay. Miss Scott asking what the Philly shell is. Mama, Miss Scott, pay attention. Pay attention. Right? This is the Philly shell now combines the shoulder roll, right? So you're using your shoulder to catch the punch. And then, right? Here we go. You're using that cross check to catch the shot. So the shot would be caught here with your hand and also caught with your shoulder. Boom, Philly shell. And you're also turning and deflecting the shot. Okay. I wish my camera was big enough, y'all. I'm about to, you know what? Y'all gonna help me make this a little bit better. Where Sugar might just start a GoFundMe so y'all can get me some equipment so I could really start teaching and showing y'all what these skills are that pay the bills. Okay, but okay, so and that I love that y'all brought that up. That Philly shell. Okay, that Philly shell is a fighter's tool. That's a fighter's skill in their toolbox that is a defensive move against strikes coming to them from maybe a boxer or a banger or another fighter. Okay, we're still talking about fighters, okay? And so in order to deal with the fighter, you have to, like I said, take away the distance from them, put them in small spaces so you can contain that unorthodox movement that they may have. Sorry, I thought somebody chimed in. Depending on the variables of the fighter. Okay, so there are variables now that you must consider in now closing in on a fighter, which would essentially be their body type. Are they stocky and big to absorb shots? Are they long and lean and tall? Right, so these are the variables that you must consider in now containing this fighter. All right. I ain't gonna ask now because y'all just came in. Skills. I was gonna ask you to tell me what some skills are. For what a fighter's skills are, and here somebody came in. Here Adair came in with the Philly shell. I love it. Okay, we talking fights now. We talking boxing. All right. Let's go now into the brawler style. Okay, lovely assistant, put that brawler up there. Now we got two brawlers in this picture. I will have to say, we got on the left side, downtown Lisa Brown. Okay, Lisa Brown was a southpaw. Baddie. Okay, I actually did a couple rounds with this one, and she was I can't even describe it. Listen, we talking about she could be a pound for pound contender. She could be a Henry Armstrong of women's boxing. That's how dangerous she was. Adair, here you coming in. Do you think that a southpaw Philly shell can work? Now, let's think about it. That Philly shell standing in front of the opponent, that Philly shell now is to deflect and move away from that power right hand. Let's think about it. Southpaw now, when you're standing in front of a southpaw is like looking in the mirror. That southpaw Philly shell will only work in front of another southpaw. If a southpaw tried a Philly shell in front of an orthodox, right? This is a southpaw. That southpaw is going to turn into the power of an orthodox fighter. They're going to turn into that right hand. The only time maybe a Philly shell would work against an orthodox fighter is if they're turning out of a hook that the lead hook that the orthodox fighter might throw. Check it, right? There's a song, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You will wreck your damn self. Mess around doing some stuff like that and not knowing who you're standing in front of. So, these type of skills like the Philly shell, you got to be careful, right? You got to check yourself before you get wrecked. Okay. Now let's go back to these brawlers. Okay. So Lisa Brown on the left, and then we got Melissa Hurricane Hernandez on the right. Okay. Both brawlers. And a brawler is quite different. I'm going to explain to you what this brawler is, okay? A brawler uses a mixture of formal and informal technique and movement with the rules of generalship. They are what I call the juggernaut, right? And whoever's not familiar with what a juggernaut is a juggernaut uses momentum and gives it back, right? So they will absorb whatever momentum you give them and blast it back to you. Okay, Miss Scott comes in. Isn't the brawler style more like street fighting? You damn Skippy. A brawler is very much like the street fighter, and the fighter is a street fighter. Okay, so these two are informal fighters. You will find them at a bar, and you will find them in the parking lot Christmas time fighting over a parking space or some shit like that. Okay. And the brawler style though is that badass style, meaning if y'all have ever watched the movie and that person, the person gets hit and they go, oh, and they come back and they go wham back, that's the brawler, right? Because what they did was they absorbed the impact of that shot and they generated the same kind of power back. That's a brawler. So let's go more into the detail of the generalship of a brawler. Okay, so the brawler uses a mixture of formal and informal techniques. Their style is a simulative style, right? So they are going to mimic what you give them. They're going to take what you give and give it back to you. Right? So if you shoot power, they're going to come back with power. If you shoot speed, they're going to come back with speed. Yeah, that's a brawler, right? Because the brawler is like the brawler is the brawler wants to argue, right? The boxer, the boxer is someone. We're talking about like if it was verbal. The boxer states facts. Facts. It only makes sense. It's logical and facts, right? And then the fighter now, the fighter will come back with some. Well, I heard and hearsay and yeah. Well, what do you think about that? And we'll probably hit below the belt sometimes. That's what a fighter is. And then the brawler. Goodness, I said the boxer. Okay, sorry. The boxer is the factual, logical one, right? The banger is points, points. And that's my point. And I'm going to hit you with the point. All they do is make hard points, that banger, okay? The fighter is the one that will hit you below the belt. Well, I heard your mama said such and then when your mom, they'll hit you below the belt and they'll win the fight off of, just unconventional shit that they brought, in an argument, in a verbal debate. A brawler wants to argue. They want to go back and forth, right? So if you hurl an insult, a brawler is going to hurl an insult back to you. If you hurl a logical, if you hurl a fact, a brawler is going to send a fact back to you, right? If you hit them with a point, a brawler is going to come back with a point. Now, this is if the fight was verbal, but fights aren't verbal, they're physical. So now, in a brawler, in now fighting a brawler, you're going to get back what you give, right? So be careful what you give, and be careful how you set up what you give, because how brawlers, the dangerous thing about a slugger versus brawler, who is more effective? Tell me what and this is from you, Adair. You know what? I like that you brought that in, the slugger. But I'm gonna let you come back. Tell me what a slugger is, because that's a hybrid. What's a slugger, right? What two styles came together and had a baby that's named the slugger? Okay. And while you figure that out, I'm gonna go back to talking about a brawler. Okay. So and lovely assistant, do I have another is there another image for the brawler style? Jessica McCaskill, undisputed welterweight champion. She is a brawler. She beat Cecilia Brækhus, which is kind of crazy for me to say, because you know what? I honestly thought both times Cecilia outboxed her. Cecilia Brækhus is a boxer. But she made McCaskill made the fight ugly and nasty, because she took what Cecilia gave her, and Cecilia was trying to Cecilia came in trying to box, right? And what McCaskill did was came back with the boxing, and well, not so much clean boxing. She came back with that brawler style. So Cecilia throws a jab, McCaskill going to throw that jab, and then she's going to come in and like the juggernaut. Now she's going to spin that power, or she's going to spin that intensity back to Cecilia. And Cecilia is a boxer. And what happened was, and is, Cecilia was never good with pressure. And a brawler is a pressure fighter. A brawler is essentially the sloppier version of a banger. Okay, they are gonna close the distance, and they're gonna come in with the same type of power and energy you gave to them. They're gonna give it right back to them, to you. So you have to be careful. Okay. Goodness. Ooh, the time is up, but y'all bear with me, okay? We're gonna finish up, all right? And there, George Foreman is a slugger, for an example. Okay, but yeah, but who came together and had a baby and created that style for George? Right? We can make many examples. Jessica McCaskill is an example of a brawler. Give me an example, a female example of a slugger. Mwah. All right. Now, it's a simulative style. Okay. Non-specific offense. Craig Wiley, brawler and banger equals slugger. Look at you, smarty pants. You're absolutely right. A brawler and a banger came together one drunk, stormy night, and they created a slugger. Right? Because the banger is clean. The brawler is not so clean. They come together, okay? And the banger stands in one place, just like the brawler. Okay? The banger takes real estate, just like the brawler. Okay? Right? The brawler gives and takes, right? The thing is, the brawler is not as clean as the banger. And so now you have a slugger. Okay. That's not the only two that will come together and make a slugger, brawler and banger, but that's one of the combinations that will come together and create a slugger, and styles make fights. And that's why boxing is so beautiful, and that's why it's so interesting. But we've lost the concept, the interesting part of fighting, because people think that fighting is just about you hit that person, they then blood and knockout. No, it's looking at the coach and the trainer and see how they designed that individual. What kind of fighter are they? Are they a banger? Are they a brawler? Are they a boxer? Right? Did that trainer or coach now meld some shit together and make a monster that nobody can deal with? A problem. That's what this is all about. My coach used to say, I make fighters. I don't take fighters. You'll hear a lot of old school trainers say that. Yeah, because you're designing a machine to break down opposition. And you're giving them a style that is difficult, and you're giving them tools that make them dangerous. And that's what boxing, that's what the fight game, that's what the sweet science is. Miss Scott comes in. I think Tyson's a brawler. You're absolutely right. I got some smart people. I got some smart people in tune. Mike Tyson was a brawler. He thinks like a banger, but he was a brawler. And you see, Customato designed him that way. He was a very intelligent fighter. Very intelligent fighter. His thought process was clean like the banger, but he executed like the brawler. And when he needed to, he banged. Okay? He very, very, very good one. Very good name to throw in the hat, Miss Scott. But I want you to throw in the hat. I want y'all to start getting familiar with these females out here, with these women out here that are fighting. You'll see that there's not many variety of styles, and that's why I did tonight's episode. Okay, let me finish up though. You know they're going to pull the curtain on me soon. Okay, but the brawler is a simulative style, meaning that it's whatever is in front of them is what they are going to be. They have non-specific offense. Okay, so it's not gonna their offense ain't going to be clean, and it's not going to be anything that you've seen before. Their offense is uh Adair Pennant. I like your show. It's great. Keep it up. Mwah! Thank you. And keep coming back because I like talking to you. It's a date every Wednesday at 7:30, right? And I want you to bring some of that good stuff that you've been bringing tonight. Okay. They have a non-specific offense, meaning they're gonna come with looping shots. They're gonna come with some crazy shit that you've never seen before. That brawler, they're gonna grab you, they're gonna push you, they're gonna do all of these things that make it that create momentum. Okay, Craig Wiley, very informative with some fun analogies. Great job, Sugar. Thank you. Mwah. You know what? We gotta like talking about this. Okay, and the better that I can convey the information to you is the better conversations that we'll have. And I want y'all to bring some analogies to Sugar too. Let's make it fun. Okay, so getting back to this brawler so I can wrap up. Okay, they have non-specific defense. Okay, so their defense would be sort of like that, Felicia. I knew somebody was going to bring that name up, and you know what? It don't surprise me that it's you, Adair Pennant. Evander Holyfield was a brawler. He was a hybrid. He had brawler in him. Britt, tell me what other style though, because his trainer, right? He's Evander Holyfield's from my home, from where I became a fighter, from the down south, from Georgia, right? And we have a style down there that's very specific to the South, especially Georgia, right? So Sugar got a little bit of that. Evander got a little bit of that style. So I want you to tell me what two styles came together one lonely day or night and created Evander Holyfield's style. Okay, bring it back. So we got one parent. One parent is a brawler. What's the other one? Um, okay, so the positioning now. The positioning of a brawler is what I call, or what we call in fighting, an ape position. And it may be new to a lot of y'all, this ape position or stance. A lot of MMA people use that. You see when they do that ape and they do that, they do that stuff that they do in the ring, that's aping. Okay, a lot of people do that shit for shows and shits and giggles, but you know what? Hey, Miss Scott, hey Sugar, your show is very informative, thank you. Okay, thank you. I want to break down the unfair assumption that boxers or fighters are not smart. I have been a fighter all my life. And in order for me to have survived with all my faculties, I had to be smart. Adair Pennant, you have a beautiful skin and hair, sweetie. Listen, now you're giving me all the good feels. You better come back next Wednesday at 7:30. Thank you, Adair. Um, Now let's get back to this. We talking boxing and fights, okay? So that ape positioning that we talk about, that ape, the hands down, and it's a position of it's a neutral type of position, showing the opposition that I'm here and I'm with the shits and I'm going to do what you do. Right, that's that ape positioning. That's why a lot of MMA fighters use it, aping, because aping is a non-binary stance. You can't tell what it is. You won't be able to tell what it is until you make the first move. And then when you make the first move, you'll see what the counter is. And it's going to come right back at you. Okay? Brawlers are close distance fighters. Okay? In order for that juggernaut to generate power and generate energy, they have to use this close, tight movement, right? Can't be long. When you extend movement, it's just like a sprint, right? A long distance runner, right? They can be fast running one lap around the track. They can do that fast, but they won't have the same type of power that 100-meter athlete or runner would do in that 100 meters, right? So 400, strong and long, right? 100 meters, fast and powerful. The brawler needs to be fast and powerful. Miss Scott, come in. That's because women boxers are not versatile, right? I've said it before, Miss Scott. I'm gonna say it again. We're not being taught. Well, I'm not gonna say we, because I was taught. I'm so grateful to the gladiators who taught me. But right now, because no one's paying attention to the female game, the most for if it, I'm gonna say it. What they pay attention to is tits and ass in women's boxing, right? And how sexy you look when you all greasy and sweaty, right? No one's thinking about the blood and boogers in the background. And the blood and boogers is what that's a real fight, right? When you get punched and then you get one of them knocked out of your nose, or the blood, or whatever it is that you saw Christy Martin had coming out her face earlier, right? Right now, it's about glitz and glam. Everybody wants to be a diva, but nobody wants to fight. Right? Sugar was a badass. Like, she was a badass bitch. And I liked, and I'm sorry, touch the bleep button, but there, I actually, that was the side of me that came out, and that's what the side of me that the gladiators brought out. Right? They taught me how to fight and be sexy, not sexy with all of that, but be sexy in whooping ass and taking names and using the skills to be a no nonsense baddie in there and hurting people. And that's what Sugar was. Sugar never got a belt, but Sugar has so many fans because people feel that, people felt that. And I appreciate that. And I love everybody for that. Um, but we need more versatility in women's boxing right now. That's what I'm looking for. It's very boring. Everyone's wearing the same outfits. It sucks. I mean, they do all right, but I need more. It's always good to have more. Um, so let's finish up, okay? The ape positioning and the ape stance is the key for a brawler, okay? That's their key to exhibit their generalship. Why? Because there's a mystery in that. That ape position now starts to psychologically make the opposition, the person they're standing in front of, question their approach, right? Because you have to know what your what your intent is and what the answer will be coming back if you're going to fight a brawler, and you're going to know. So it's like you got to always strike knowing that two answers you're going to have to solve. You're going to have to give the problem and execute the solution to your problem at the same time when you're fighting a brawler, because they're going to give back what you gave them. They're going to give it right back. Right? You give them a power shot, they're going to give it right back. They're going to argue with you. Okay? You will always find a brawler drawing for opportunities for countering their opposition. Countering, meaning that you jab them, they're going to block the jab and come back with a jab. You give them a right, they're going to block the right, come back with the right. You're going to hook them, right? And then they're going to take the hook and then come back with theirs. Okay, so you'll have to know what you're going to do with what you are going to do. You're going to have to solve your own problem while you're fighting them. And that's the mind with a brawler. Okay. They use momentum. They use the momentum of that to take you down, to break you down if you're their opposition. Okay. In order to deal with or defeat a brawler, the opposition must create and maintain distance. Right? You have to create and maintain that distance now to take the edge off, right? To break down that the immediate response of the brawler, right? You got to use time and distance just like you would a banger, right? So, which is, I think, Craig Craig Wigley was the one that brought up such a solution. Okay, so he was very smart in that. Either it was it Craig or Adair. Adair comes in. Being a counterpuncher can be effective against a brawler. Being a counterpuncher can be effective against a brawler based on certain variables, right? I have fought and sparred brawlers, and you are absolutely right, Adair. I countered them, but I countered them knowing what I was drawing. So what I did was say it was a hook. So I drew a hook. I drew a soft hook. So I knew that they were going to come with a soft hook. When they came with that soft hook, I came with a hard right. Right? So you have to solve the problem. I gave the bait. They took the bait, and I came back with something to hurt them. And it's the same thing. I could give something hard and then come back soft. So you have to, yes, you have to counter, but it's the way you counter. It's the mind, right? A brawler, it can't be, you can't be black and white like a banger, right? You got to now turn into a hybrid too, and be maybe a boxer puncher that's good at countering against a banger brawl, or I mean against a brawler. Okay. I like that point that you made. So, like I said, create the distance, slow down and diffuse the momentum with a brawler. With a brawler. So you got to slow down their momentum. Think about stopping a tornado. Okay. A brawler is much like a tornado. So true, Sugar. Thank you, Miss Scott. Think about stopping a tornado. Can you stop a tornado? No, you can't. A tornado will destroy everything in its path. But what do they do in tornado, in places prone to tornado? They put dips and curves, and they put all these different things to now diffuse the momentum of the wind and to slow it down into a weak breeze. Okay. Adair Pennant, fainting can be good against a brawler. You're absolutely right. That's a dip. That's a turn. That's something to stop the tornado. You're absolutely right, because now they can't generate any force from a feint because you fainted them, right? Feints and fakes. Adair, you a boxer? You're smart in here, and I like that. Right? I like talking about fighting. I like talking about boxing with y'all, because you don't have to get in the ring to know about this and to talk about this and to solve problems. You really don't. And I don't want people to feel into that, that intimidation of, oh, you got to know all of this or that. No, I'm sorry. There are people with far less that are actually training other people to go in the ring. That's how dangerous it is out here. A lot of these people don't even know that the person that's coaching them have never even been in a schoolyard fight, have never had have never won an argument. and they getting you ready to go in for somebody that's been training, or that is training to knock your head off, right? So it is what it is, and I say skills pay the bills. So I planned on asking the question after, talking about these styles. How, give me the skills that solves these problems. But y'all have been coming with some stuff. Y'all coming with the thunder. I love it. I love it. Tonight, y'all are giving me everything. And, this is just becoming so much more fun. Sugar started off the show, my guys at Talk and Fight, they gave me a platform, and I didn't even know some of you guys would show up for Sugar. So I'm just so happy, and I'm hoping we grow together. Like, share, subscribe, come on back with some facts, come back with, give me some some questions that you may have that Sugar can explain and make a whole show about, because like I said, it's something that is quite interesting to learn. Miss Scott, Adair Pennant, Craig Wiley, Michael, or all of you guys that come in, said Cedric Sports Train. Listen, you chiming in up there, Great show, Sugar. Thank you. I love y'all coming in because this is what happens in the boxing gym that y'all don't know. This is that stuff. Go into your boxing gym. You gonna find that old school coach, or old school, the guy that been around boxing for years, and he talking that yang, right? Then you got the new school coaches talking that yang. Then you got the young and the kids. You got everyone socializing around fight. That's what makes the kitchen. We call it a kitchen, right? We call that boxing gym a kitchen because we always making something. We gonna make something. We making knuckle sandwiches. We making fighters. We making monsters, right? And so online here, the Sugar Show is just an extension of that kitchen. Like, subscribe, share, and come back here every Wednesday night at 7:30 and come get some of this sugar. Mwah. Take care.